My name is Rafe Katchadorian, and welcome to my crazy life. Shut it down, boys.
Please tell me you didn't stay up all night drawing again. I know it's hard to start a new school, but there's a whole world out there.
There's a whole big world in there, too. This is my sister, Georgia. Mom, she's doing it again.
She's gonna get me arrested.
Hello, not getting any younger here.
Do that again and you're not getting any older either.
This is my mom's new boyfriend, Carl.
Phone lady, search for ways to get rid of kids you don't like.
Calling mommy.
Stop, hang up. Hey, Mom! I'm breaking up. Gotta go.
And this
Excuse me.
is my new principal, Dwight.
Everything you have on is breaking rule number 22.
What's rule number 22?
The code of conduct. Read it. And look what's happening to your shirt. Nobody needs to see where your chest hairs are going to be.
So, yeah, this year's gonna be fun.
No loitering. Move it, people.
Intense, huh? Seriously? It's like I'm in prison.
No outside food.
No talking.
No laughing.
No going to the bathroom.
It's a pretty common rule.
Don't you see, Rafe?
My school, my rules.
This is hilarious.
Hey, hand over the notebook.
Rule number 26. Read it out loud.
Written material deemed inappropriate will be destroyed?
Bring the yellow bucket.
You don't understand. These drawings mean everything to me.
Creativity has no place in this school.
Welcome to
Rafe, save us.
Oh, no. Rules are rules.
your new principal sucks.
No risk, no reward. We have to fight.
We've got to take on the establishment.
All right, guys, I've given you all your assignments. Let's break every rule in the code of conduct to expose Principal Dwight.
All right, Katchadorian, I'm in.
Let's do this.
What are you doing?
Just excited to get to school early.
Really?
Oh my gosh. That could have been me.
If you get caught, you're gonna end up in a new school called prison.
I will find the hooligans and I will bring them to justice.
The microphone is on the fritz, sir.
I like my big butt.
It's a good day.
Whoever did this is committed to their art.
So I want to start by asking all of you, and Alexa, this may not apply to you yet, but if you could pull a Rafe on any teacher or person of authority from your own educational past, who would it be?
I'd say Steve.
Oh, it's starting already. Okay.
Very hard to discipline, very hard. Rampaged all over set. Not really.
Me, ooh. I don't know that I've had anyone. I've had all my teachers have been really nice, actually. So well, there was one teacher probably in my, I was in like first grade. I'd probably pull a prank on her. She wasn't my favorite.
What's her name?
Oh.
What's her name?
I actually forget. It was a while ago.
Well played, well
See,
played.
Hollywood.
Very well played. You forget. See, I had a geometry teacher that if I could have taken down, oh my God.
My teacher in preschool, believe it or not.
You remember preschool?
Dude, yeah. She was so evil. Like, she would put me on timeouts, take away whatever I'm playing with, just for no reason. I'd just be sitting there. I wouldn't do anything wrong. She just had it out for me for some reason. She would send me to other classes. I wouldn't be talking. I would bring a toy to school, and I would get in trouble. And then there's this other girl that brought Tigger plushie, and she's like, oh, yeah, that's really cute. And I said,
What was her name?
my Power Rangers. But, yeah.
What was her
I'd
name?
probably pull a Rafe on her.
I'm really surprised that
What
you
was her
asked
name?
for that.
Her name was Miss.
I bet you have a good one, Rob.
What? Teachers that I would like to pull pranks on?
Yes, or take down.
I pretty much covered them all. I think I pulled pranks on all of them, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I don't think I left anything unturned. Yeah,
Respect.
total.
James.
I would have to bring my teachers back from the dead at this point. But there was a nun in 5th or 6th grade, and she broke her pointer over my head, which the class thought was hilarious. I think it's funny at this point, but at that point I didn't. So if I could bring anybody back from the dead, it would be her. Sister Marie Anthony. I'll use names.
For me, I would have had to have gone to school more often to actually had time.
That explains a lot.
I was really happy in school. Whenever I went. The few times I went, I was happy.
It was a good experience.
Good experience.
So James, how does it feel to see this book, which was such a big hit with kids, on the big screen with this young man playing Rafe?
We had a New York premiere on Saturday, and that's when you really feel it, because there's an audience. So it stops being like make-believe. And even at the screenings, they do these test screenings. And my whole thing, my promise for this movie is you're going to laugh, you're going to cry, and that's what happened. And when people come up to you, people are always nice at the screenings. They go, oh, yeah, it's a nice movie. Kids are coming up, I loved it, I loved it, I loved it. And that's what you want.
Rob, how did you approach playing Carl, who's kind and sweet and caring and not shallow and loving?
Yes.
All those things.
Carl is a complex character.
He's misunderstood, perhaps.
Oh, definitely misunderstood. I mean, he's puddle deep. I'll just go ahead and say it. But no, I like playing jerks. I think it's fun. You never get to do that in real life, or at least you shouldn't do that in real life. So whenever you get a chance to take that side of your personality out for a walk, it can be a lot of fun.
But you play him with restraint, because there's a secret to making jerks believable.
And also likable. I mean, that's one of the things that he does that's absolutely amazing. It's like you could be a real jerk, but you're still rooting for him always. I know I was.
And how did you three come to be in this? I know your story, but let's repeat it. It involves the lack of cell phone service.
It does. I auditioned, I got a call back, and I didn't hear back from Steve for a few months.
I had things to do.
Yeah, he had things to do. He was busy. I went to summer camp thinking the project was gone. And while I was at summer camp, apparently I'd actually booked it. And I didn't know for a good 3 weeks because I didn't have cell service, I didn't have phones. My parents tried to write me a letter telling me I got it. It never got to me.
He didn't understand what it was.
Yeah.
As a young, he's still like, what's this paper and thing?
We had the little plane with the sign. You got the part, and it didn't matter.
Didn't work. So once I got back to the mainland, I found out, and I was very happy.
Oh, my story. So I was living in Atlanta at the time, so I did a self-tape, and I sent it in, and then I got a call back for it, and I thought I did good, but I wasn't sure. But then my dad was actually, this was when my dad was in the hospital because he had pneumonia, and I was home alone with my mom, and I got the call that I got it. So my dad was in the hospital, so he didn't really know until he got back.
I could add a little bit to the story. We hadn't quite decided on who was going to play Georgia, and we were in Atlanta scouting, and somebody and I had loved her tape, but we hadn't flown her out to audition at all. So I found out she actually lived in Atlanta. I was like, well, let's bring her over and meet her. And we were in a huge ballroom, and it was me and two of the producers sitting at a table like American Idol. And this tiny little chair, and in walks this tiny little girl, and sits down and says, hello. And then she started, and then there's an emotional scene where she literally just started crying. And I was like, I'm sorry. I was like, I felt like it was so good. Her crying in the scene was so good that I thought I had caused it. And then I think I remember her looking at me and saying, I was like, that was great. And I think I remember her saying, I think I could do it better. and then doing it again.
That's a good story.
Thank you.
And what about you?
I actually went back and forth many times, casting sessions, and
Seems to be a pattern with you.
It's the only
you don't like
Making
us,
up
all
his
right?
mind.
It's the only time that they listen.
You think
to
this
me.
is good? You should have seen the animation.
The only time they listen to me is before they get the job.
Yeah. And I go in for Miller, and Steve told me actually on set he loved how outgoing and physical I was, and he just loved how I played such a jerk.
Yeah.
And I was so mean.
The funny story about Jacob is that he came in for another role. He came in for the role that Thomas did, and he was so fantastic. But I just felt like he was a little big and a little too overpowering and strong.
That was when I was like putting my arm around, like poking him and all that.
And I said, I don't think he's right for Thomas's role, but he's perfect for Miller. And then ran him up the flagpole, and everybody saluted, and that was it. Bam, there he was.
Did everyone actually salute to me? Or?
Yep.
All right. Oh, that's cool.
And what's so great about this movie, just from my perspective as a mom, is that It celebrates creativity, and it also, I think, takes a really smart and nuanced stand against standardized testing. And this
Here's
obsession with
here's
the
weird
testing.
thing. At the premiere, the head of the New York school board came up to me, and she said, and we're going to do it. She said, I want to show this movie to every middle school principal in the city. So we're going to do that, I think, this week.
I'm hoping that she'll make them pay for it.
Of course.
Does that
Public
count as
schools are
sales?
rolling
Right,
in
yeah.
cash. I totally think you should.
I think she wants it for free, but we'll work on it.
But when you wrote the book, was that part of your mission?
That's a piece of it, yeah, for sure. Look, I mean, this deals with, kids that fall through the system, fall through the cracks. I mean, that's what Rafe is. He's very talented, very bright, but there's no art in his school, which is a problem in this country because so many schools don't have art. And he's not that keen on some of the other subjects. So that's a piece of it. Anti-bullying is another piece of it. And then it's not that there shouldn't be any standards, but we just can't do this. Testing can't be the whole ball of wax. It's just so we're anti that.
And how did you approach directing a kids movie?
Well, I've done it before. I directed Daddy Daycare with Eddie Murphy, and
That was a kids movie.
With
Eddie.
And there was some
Eddie,
children,
yeah.
and there was some children in it.
I was to say, I was like, that's not exactly.
It was. So I'd had some experience doing it before, and hadn't planned on doing another family film. But then when I read it, I really responded to it because, like the character Rafe, I grew up drawing. That was I studied painting and went to the High School of Art and Design, and as a kid would doodle. And when I went in to go meet to try to get the job, I brought in all my old sketchbooks from that age. And
He almost lost his job.
And that one. I just wish I was a little bit better or a little worse. But no, they hadn't. So I really felt connected to the character. So you approach these kids are amazing actors. You approach it like
Thank you.
Like you would anybody else. Actually, much more. It's actually far simpler to direct somebody as talented as these kids. Than
These guys
the
almost
adults.
never drop a line, which is
Really?
amazing.
Some of the adults.
The adults, it's like
Yeah.
line.
Wrong.
Not this adult.
They just take off on
Some of
their
the other
own. They just say stuff. But as long as they say stuff that's really funny, so I take credit for it.
And I want to know from each of you, what was a book that really impacted you when you were growing up and as you grow up?
Me? All right.
Rob is like, I don't know how to read.
Trying to
so-
decide.
I'm still thinking about it.
I just faked it a lot.
Line? No.
I like The Outsiders.
I did too. That was an amazing.
I can
I
relate to
like that book a lot.
I read that last year, actually. And I did a book report on it, and it was the best grade in English I ever got. I got like an 86 or something.
There you go.
You go, Griffin.
Plus.
Go Griffin.
Right.
All right. Stay golden.
Pony boy.
Pony boy. I think you called me Pony Boy on set a million times.
No, I did not. No, I did not.
Gotta do it for Johnny, man.
It's just somewhere between. It's either Ulysses or Finnegan's Wake. One of the two. I don't know.
Of course, the smart people books. Yes.
Writer.
That's quite a spectrum.
I'm like Sweet Valley High. He's like Finnegan's Way.
Catcher in the Rye.
Yeah, I was gonna say Catcher in the Rye, but it just has too many negative connotations. Maybe Lord of the Rings. I love that kind of stuff.
If I had to choose one, Hunger Games. That was that book really got me into reading. I didn't read much before that, and then I read Hunger Games, and I really got into it. I read all 3 books within like a month or so. So that was definitely me.
Well, I'm only 10, so I started reading like I haven't really like I only got
Yesterday.
I only got into reading like
Scripts.
no, I haven't been reading for that long of a time, so I haven't read some of the more like mature
Finnegan's Wake.
long
You haven't
books.
read that?
But all books that I read, I love reading now, so I really want to get into reading more books. So I'm hoping as I get older, I can read more like books like Hunger Games and.
Oh my God, can you be any cuter?
Thank
Seriously,
you.
like, seriously.
Thank you so much.
I just remembered Between Two Ferns.
What did
I just said I actually remember Between Two Ferns. That was another one of my favorites.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
You ever read Between Two Ferns?
Never.
Sad.
Well, I can recommend a great author for you.
Yeah.
Right here.
Exactly. There you go.
Yeah.
Jackie Ha Ha. That's a book you should read of mine if you're going to read one of my books. Jackie.
Okay.
Good. It's fun.
Middle school, I heard, is okay.
Yeah, they're good.
Got that one.
Great book, great
Fired.
movie.
I'd say Percy Jackson. I loved Percy Jackson. Yeah, I was obsessed with the concepts of magic and mythical creatures. I love that. And Lord of the Rings. Definitely Lord of the Rings, yeah.
And James, I want to end with you because before we go to the audience, because writing children's books is so difficult, and people think it's just, you have a moral, you come up with a compelling, cute little character, and you dash it off. How do you approach your kids' genres differently than
I
the
don't.
thrillers?
Same. Yeah, the only thing about the kids' books is I'm allowed to be funnier. Alice Cross is not that funny. All due respect, he's a nice guy, but he's not that funny. So it allows me to put more humor into the books. But it's the same. I'm always trying to entertain people. It's like what I say at this movie. You're going to laugh, you're going to cry. And that's the key to all my books, that you're going to have some kind of a strong emotional reaction.
And actually, Rob, I lied. We're not going to the audience yet. How did you come to be in the project? You read the part of Carl, and he just spoke to you.
I was lucky enough. That Steve came and said, "I think I've got a part that you could do well in." And I said, "Let me see it." And I found out James was, part of this whole thing, this whole process. This was his book, and I was like, "Oh yeah, let me read this thing." So I started reading it, and I was like, "Oh, we can have fun with this." And then they were gracious enough to let me be part of it.
Well, I was really lucky. I've been dying to work with Rob for the longest time, and we were developing another film, a totally different film that he had written, and we'd gone through a bunch of machinations on it. So we had gotten a chance to know each other, and he just kills me. I just literally was able to find the actors that I find really funny, and Rob is...
And one of the key things that Rob can do, and Steve mentioned it before, is this part, the part that he plays, could have been a disaster in this movie, but he made it funny.
Yeah.
And that's the key thing. We needed to have somebody that could do these outrageous things and make them funny, as opposed to
make it just dark and scary. Yeah, no, it was great.
He's a little dark.
And what's great with people like Rob and Andy Daly, who's also in it, and Adam Bailey, is, we work from the script, but then he's able to go off and just find these moments that are really funny that I eventually take credit for. And he did that quite a bit.
What's your favorite Carl moment?
I think we had a lot of fun when Carl was trying to smash in the door. And ended up hurting himself in the process, only to find out that the door was not locked.
There are a lot of good Carl
As one
moments.
learns. And let's turn it over to the audience.
Hey, this movie looks really funny. I was wondering about the animation, like who worked on that and how easy it was that to incorporate into the movie.
Well, when we started looking at the different animation companies, I found one that I really liked called Duncan Studios. And I grew up watching cartoons and was a huge fan of animation. And that was one of the reasons why I took the film, was because there was so much animated story in this. I came up with this concept that it was important for me for it to feel familiar in 2D as opposed to kind of the 3D Pixar version, because I wanted it to feel like it was something a kid, can relate to, and had its own separate reality. And then it was, just a very, working with a bunch of really talented animators, coming up with the different characters, and most of the segments are in the script. So it was a long process and one of the least enjoyable, but because you have to wait so long for things to materialize. But once you finally get it going, it's an amazing process.
The other thing with the studios, a lot of the studios out there, they work on these big, high-budget animation movies, and they get tortured because they go do 9 different ways of doing the same thing, and they feel they can't be as creative. With this thing, we said, no, we're going to try to keep it simple, and we want your creativity, we want your ideas, and they love that.
Yeah, again, it's like my nom de plume. It's like, they do amazing work, and I take credit. That's my job.
That's true.
Makes sense.
I think I'm going to adopt that for myself. Next question, please.
Hey everyone, thank you for being here. My question's for James. Were you a rule breaker when you were in middle school?
It's so far back I can't remember. I went to Catholic school. It wasn't middle school. It was just total torture for the whole 8 years. But I'm a rule breaker now. I mean, you can't write kids books. Oh yeah, watch this. You can't write nonfiction. Oh yeah, watch this. You can't put out more than one novel a year. Oh yeah, watch this. So I am a rule breaker now for sure.
Next question, please.
Hey, everybody. This question is directed to James as well. Did you learn anything from the kids once they came on set about any recent trends that were going on that you wanted to incorporate in the script once you found out how their personalities were and what was actually going on with the snaps, chats, and all that stuff that was going on?
Tragically, I keep up. I have an 18-year-old, so I've been through the whole. He's not that much older than Griffin. So I'm, within reason, I keep up with it anyway. I try to not keep up with it, but
And I actually wanted to have each of you go around and share one really either funny or poignant memory from the set, from shooting.
Oh, gosh. Well,
let's put Rob on the spot to start.
You think you could have had all that time?
Yeah, I was like, good, let him figure it out. Oh, boy. No, look, I had a blast every day I was on set. There was a day when Griffin and Alexa
one of the days that you reminded me of that when you throw the towel at him and when he's getting
it was like the first day of shooting. First day of shooting, there's a scene where I throw a towel at Griffin and I say something like, "I always knew you were a loser," but I have to say it in. It's terrible. I wouldn't say that to my worst enemy. And I came off the set, and I went to Steve, and I was like, do I have to say this? I wouldn't say this to somebody I really hated. And he's like, trust me, it's good, it's good. I'm like, oh, this character, Carl, sucks.
Exactly.
So anyway, yeah, so that was definitely one.
My worst is very simple because I have a scene in a movie, and it's very good, and it's the weakest scene in the whole movie. But when I did it, I can't remember names and I can't remember dialogue. So I said, you have to do cue cards. Yeah. So they didn't listen. And I said, I also want to just be able to step into the scene, so it's really easy. So no, it's a big restaurant. It's full of people. They hide the cue cards behind the actors, and I have to go through and hit these different points, And I'm frightened because I can't remember what the hell the lines were, But so I finally get up to them, and here they are, and it's the family in the restaurant, and I'm saying my lines, and they're like this. Totally stone-faced. It's like I'm delivering it to a wall.
You did amazing, though.
Yeah. Thank you, Alexa. And you're going to be in the next movie, too.
Oh, you were really great.
And you too.
You were all right,
Griffin. Okay.
One of the kind of fun.
I mentioned how good you were in that scene.
And by the way, you needed
James,
very
you were
little direction.
fantastic.
You needed
You were
very
very
little
handsome,
direction.
too.
And I got
you were
very
so
little.
good. Exactly. One of my favorite moments of all of the filming was we had been filming for about 2 months, and we all really knew each other very well, and the kids all really had bonded, and even the crew, and Alexa had a very emotional scene that she had to play with Griffin, and because we would, everything was so, casual, she wasn't quite getting to that emotional place that I thought she could. So I remember thinking to myself, oh my God, what am I going to do? This is, So I decided, instead of watching it from the monitor, I went up to the set, and I sat right in front of her on the dolly, and while she was having all this great time, and then I reminded her right before the take that, all this fun we've been having, and Griffin and Jacob and Thomas, you're never going to see them again after today. And she went, and she looked at me. She looked at me and went, "What?" I was like, "Action." So that was my favorite moment.
Okay, try to top that, you guys.
My favorite scene, actually, it was filming with Andy Daly, who's a great comedian, and he's very good at ad-libbing. And I had a scene with him where he's lecturing me and Thomas and Isabella while we're trying to support this charity outside the school, and he's just lecturing us, and he's ad-libbing all these hilarious things, and I don't think we didn't get a single take where I kept a straight face. Yeah. So in the movie, we actually used this take. No, not a lot of people notice it, but I'm very critical of myself, so I noticed it, where I kind of like turn my head, and you can see me like biting my lip and biting the inside of my mouth and smiling at the same time.
Both him and Isabella, literally, he's like trying not to laugh, and Isabella literally turned her head completely away from camera, and it was the only that was as close as we could come to something where they didn't break, where they didn't break. So
my favorite scene to film was, I love the emotional scene, but a funny scene that I loved was one in Dave and Buster's with Rob and Griffin, because Rob is just like the most funniest person ever, like even off camera. They're so funny and
handsome.
And handsome.
And, thank you for
Be in your movie.
There you are.
And you're amazing.
I'm calling you.
I love the way you do comedy, and I thought it was really fun to watch him, and I learned a lot from him.
Aww.
Oh man, I actually got two. One was like the first week of shooting with Griffin. It was my introduction scene actually, where I just like kicked the back of his desk, and I'm just like, "Hey, Krapadukian, it's Miller time." I love that scene because I got to kick you over and over.
It was a good scene.
And I also love the scene, my prank scene, where I'm dressed as a school mascot and I'm on the, well, how we shot it was I was supposed to look like I was on the roof of the school. I was on this ladder, and
I suggested that we actually put him on the top of the roof, right, perched over it, but some reason people have a problem with that.
Yeah, I think like Julio and
his mother.
No,
and
he kind of
father.
talked you out of it.
Yeah, they talked me out of it, and we just did it on a very low ladder.
Yeah, yeah.
And back to the audience, please.
This show looks like so much fun. We're looking forward to seeing it. I'm wondering, with the kids all coming from different backgrounds, how long did it take you to kind of find a groove to be able to work together and not feel bad about doing the pranks and pulling, doing things to each other?
Well, actually, for me, it was really easy because I read the books when I was in middle school. I reread them once I got the role, so I was already like fairly familiar with the character. But then also we had James on set who wrote the character. He was able to give me so much insight on the character, and then we had Steve, who's a great director. So, well, he's a pretty good director.
Thank you.
And so those two really just helped me get into the character and really kind of discover who he is.
Probably same with me. I did read the books when I found out I got cast, so that helped. And Steve and James and all the other
You're going to be in
cast
Jackie,
members,
haha.
Yeah.
all the other cast members, and I think just the environment and just being on set helps us all get into character.
I think I have to say something nice to get on one of these new movies that are happening. I love you all. So.
He's also
Thank
giving
you.
each of you $100 when we get off stage.
Slide you a 20. I'd have to say, it was really amazing being on set with all of you guys. I just want to say it's like a family to me because we spent so much time together. Yeah.
One of the things
You guys
that
are
was
awesome.
one of the things that was really cool is they put all the kids up in the same hotel, and I think all on the same floor. And
that was a mistake.
Saving money.
Yeah, but I remember distinctly asking not to stay at that hotel, and for all the right reasons, because apparently they were up all night running back and forth.
Oh,
down
yeah.
the
That was not
hall,
me.
Yeah.
Making trouble. I literally stayed in a townhouse 3 miles away.
Listen, I was asleep, all right? They were the
We would
goofballs
have,
while
like,
I was resting.
Thursdays off, I believe, or some day off. So
we
like
had
every
Fridays and Thursdays and Fridays.
So like Wednesday night and Thursday night, we would stay up
It was,
Yeah, we'd have
mad.
movie
really
Who ordered the most room
like
service?
way too late.
Oh, we would actually go up to the Barbuska's room, Thomas Barbuska, who played Leo, and we would order like
pizza.
50 bags of chips and just veg out on their couch.
It was like having a
And we
heavy
would order,
metal
like,
band stay at your hotel.
Bro.
Yeah, I think Leopoldo actually, who's the producer, yelled at us the second day because the first day we were all still on LA time. So we get there, we get to the hotel, and we're up till like 3 or 4 a.m. because we're jet lagged and on LA time. We're just running through the halls. We don't know what to do. And Leopoldo texted all of our mothers going, "You need to get these kids to bed before I hurt them."
I remember the next day when we were all looking tired, and he just comes up to you specifically, and he says just like, "Griffin, if you don't do good job, I punch you in the face."
I punch you in the face.
And Leopoldo is one of the assistant producers.
To be fair, he
It's
said
awesome.
that every day, though.
And when can we see this?
It opens October 7th, Friday. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Friday.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.